Grab a drink, join the chat. Let's start the show.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner. I am your host, Lindsey Vertner. I'm a peak potential strategist and transformational speaker. I teach ambitious, busy female entrepreneurs and leaders how to master their mindset and increase their self-care, self-worth, and self-discipline. And I'm super excited to be here for another amazing episode. I am going to introduce my guest in just 1 second. But first, I got to say hello to you. If you're tuning in, make sure you comment all the way live if you're watching live, and comment replay all day if you're catching the replay later on. And to my audio listeners, we love you too. Make sure you comment, love, and share this video out and engage in the conversation, because it's definitely time for you to grab a drink and join the chat. So don't be shy. Post your questions below, post your comments below, and let's get going. I would like to introduce my guest for tonight, Miss Destiney Gillespie. She is a serial entrepreneur with a focus on women's empowerment. She's the founder of a nonprofit women's organization called the EmpowHERment Daily Devotional Corp. She has the organization's primary focus is on sisterhood and outreach. It's designed to be a safe haven for women to evolve and be surrounded by like-minded women on the same journey of becoming the best versions of themselves while also giving back. Destiney is a motivational speaker, and her sole mission in life is to uplift, inspire, and empower women in all walks of life. So welcome tonight's Happy Hour Show guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie. Hello.
Hi.
How are you doing on this beautiful day today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to have you on the show. And I know I just gave a quick little rundown of what you do, but I want you to take us back a little bit and tell us, who is Destiney really? Give us some behind the scenes back in the day. What was you about? Welcome.
You know what, Lindsey? It has been a journey, okay? Because Destiney has not always been about women's empowerment and really even trying to motivate anybody in particular. For a while I was just a young girl, living my life. I was a teen mom at 16 years old with my son. I see my people tuned in. But pretty much I was just your around the way girl. I really don't know how to explain it. I had a horrible attitude. And so it was really funny when I turned 21 and God was like, okay, girl, I need you to get it together and I need you to do what I've called you to do. And so, of course, being 21 years old, people my age are in the club, you know what I mean? We out getting lit, we live, so I'm like, God, I don't want to do this. And so when he said that he needed me to lead a women's group and to really step outside of my comfort zone, of course, I became fearful. Of course, so many things transpired in between that time, but I am so thankful for the journey. I'm so thankful for just the opportunity to really just be an open and willing vessel to be able to help women, because that's really just the biggest thing. I have a heart for women. It wasn't always like that, but I'm so glad that I was able to just really become passionate about it, because now it's something that I cannot see myself, going without a day not doing.
Awesome. You mentioned so many things already that we could kind of take a turn on, but I just want to kind of start from the beginning. You mentioned that you were a teen mom at the age of 16. I know
Yes.
some teen moms myself, currently and previously, and or do you ever not be? I mean, like they grew up to be an adult. They had their child as a teen. So I know that a lot of viewers could hear some advice, and even if they aren't a teen mother, just that perspective and how things shift. So tell us a little bit about that process of being a teen mom and what it was like for you.
I would say my journey of being a teen mother, it was a lonely journey, simply because, if we want to get a little deep in like generational curses, things like that, teen pregnancy was pretty much a family. So when I became pregnant at 16, everybody was pretty much shocked because I was the girl that was like, I don't want any kids. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was like wild or out there or anything like that. I've always been about, my schoolwork, but I was your average 16-year-old. I was rebellious. You know what I mean? I was doing things that 16-year-old girls do. And, when I became pregnant, of course, all of my friends at the time, their parents were like, oh my God, this girl is such a bad influence. We can't have you hanging around them. And I think that was my first encounter of like true rejection from like people that I really, really love, outside of not having the ideal relationship with my mother that I would like to have. Just being that teen mom, it really caused me to grow up a lot quicker than, some of my peers. And so, again, the journey was lonely. It caused me to grow up. I had to really do some soul searching because, of course, at 16, you're selfish. You're not thinking about, having a child. So when you're a baby having a baby, it is a psychological thing, and I don't think people really realize how mental that is, especially during the time, everybody was kind of looking at it as like a fad. I would be in school and it would be a lot of girls who were pregnant at 16 as well. And, I'm like, this isn't cute to me. I tried to hide my pregnancy. I didn't want to go to school. I was so ashamed. I was embarrassed. But one thing that it taught me was that I was able to really just overcome so many obstacles that came my way at just an early age. It really helped me to love because, I cannot see my life without my son. He's 9 years old now. He is my world. He'll be 10 this year. And I'm just like, thank God, you know what I mean, that I went through that. And so if there are any viewers who may have children, teenagers that are pregnant, or even if you might be a teenager who is pregnant, I would say, the journey's going to get tough, but don't give up. Things happen for a reason. And I believe that, of course, we don't want to glorify teenage pregnancy, but I think, like I said, everything happens for a reason. And I believe that that was just a part of my journey, for me to begin to really understand who I am and what my calling was.
Nice, nice. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner and my beautiful guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie. And she just touched on being a teen mom at the age of 16 and how that changed her life. And so after you found out you were pregnant and then you had to make that crucial choice, do I keep it? Do I not keep it? Like, what was going through your head in that moment, and what made you, decide to do what it was that you did by keeping your child and actually stand in that power to do that?
So, there was no option of abortion or getting rid of my child, not just because, of course, at that age, you don't know what you're for and what you're against. You know what I mean? But I was 4.5 months pregnant when we found out. So it was kind of like, okay, do I keep my baby? Do I give my baby up for adoption? And so I actually spent quite some time, through my journey of pregnancy, kind of going back and forth. It wasn't until probably like my last month of pregnancy where, God was like, you can do this. I like my pastor at the time had sat me down and had explained to me, like, hey, what you did was a sin, right? What you did was not ideal. However, if it was not meant for you to parent this child, if God did not trust you to mother this child, nurture this child, you would not have this child, and just explaining to me that there are people out there that want to have kids that can't have kids. And so I think just making that decision of, okay, I can do this. It's going to be hard, but I had to really look at it as if I'm going to prove to myself and prove to the world that I'm not going to be another statistic, because I'm such a headstrong individual. And, during my pregnancy, my teachers were like, you're not going to graduate. Even my family was concerned, like, hey, you probably shouldn't take the full 6 weeks off. Who's going to keep your baby? Who's going to do this? And I was more so in the mindset of, let me prove everybody wrong, because I know that I can do this. And I know that I'll be able to show my son, I think my biggest motivation was being able to show my son that despite adversity and despite mishaps or failures, you have a mom that pushed through, and just wanting to give him that example. So that way, when he became of age, he's proud to call me his mom. So
that is so sweet. I love that. I love that. And you mentioned, God said that you can do this, and you spoke with your pastor. I think that's what, whether teenage or not, that's what a lot of unexpected pregnancies result in, that fear, like, what will people think? Is this a sin? Am I married? And things along that nature, which can kind of lead the direction in the path that they take. And so you were able to have a pastor that said, this was a sin, but it's okay. We can work on that. And how would you say that faith played a part in helping you to get through?
Oh, faith was major, because, of course, when you start to fear things, our major fear is like fear of the unknown, because we want to be in control of everything. We feel like if we have control over it, we can, we can kind of first see what that outcome is going to be. When you're 16 and pregnant, you don't know what the outcome is going to be, right? You don't know. I mean, the things running through my head was, okay, now I have to get a job. How am I going to support my baby? Where are we going to live? All these different things that was going on. And so I would say, like, that was one of the first encounters that I had of stepping out on faith and really trusting God. I had, was introduced to God when I was 13 years old. So 3 years prior to me becoming pregnant. I was on the praise team. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was doing all of that between the ages of 13 and 16 years old. And so when this happened, it was so major. Nobody sat me down. I sat myself down in the church, because I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm a leader. This has happened. And I think really seeking God and praying and saying, you know what, God, if my pastor is telling me that I can make it through this, I need you to be able to give me some sort of supernatural strength that's going to be able to pull me through this. And I believe that by me seeking God, God has carried me the entire way there. I told God, I will never not take you anywhere with me. Okay. Like when I was doing your event, when I was like, hey, y'all, I'm a church girl, you might get a couple amens, hallelujahs. But, I told God that because I felt like I owed God that much, and so me and my child, we have not lacked. Of course, there has been hard times of, being homeless at one point in time, sleeping out of my car at one point in time, trying to have him stay with different family members when I lost my grandmother, which is the woman who raised me. And I went through a depressive, phase in my life. It was so many different challenges that occurred. So I'm not going to sit up here and tell you that it was just easy breezy, because we know that when God helps us through things, the walk with God is not an easy one, but it's well worth it. And so I think just, going through those tumultuous times, but understanding that, my help comes from God. And no matter how low I get, no matter how low we get, I'm going to keep giving him praise. And so just stepping out on faith, I think, was just a really big thing, and really trusting God and selling myself out for God.
Yes. I have to put this in the comments right now so it can be on screen. You said the walk with God is not an easy one, but it's well worth it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Man, I hope y'all are getting all of this faith juice right now. Because we have to stand for something outside of ourselves. Whenever you are, faithful in your spirituality, it actually helps to manage your emotions. That doesn't mean that you don't have bad days or obstacles or struggles, but it just means that that in the end, it will all work out for your good, because that's what it says in his word, is that it will all work out for your good. And as long as we give our pain permission to evolve into something better, then we are able to do that, and we are able to see what that good is. So I love that you mentioned all of those things. And you mentioned being homeless.
Yeah.
So if it's okay, we gotta keep it real. We gotta go deep. So
Yeah, I'm all for y'all. I'm
I
all
think
for it.
a lot of times, in social media and in the news and society, there is a large chunk of people that associate homelessness with drug addicts
Yeah.
and all kinds of negative scenarios. Like people are just down and out and they don't want to get a job and they're high on drugs and strung out and alcoholics and yada, yada,
Right.
yada, all these stereotypes. But I don't think that people realize that most Americans can be just 1 or 2 lost paychecks away from being homeless. So would you mind sharing your journey and how you got to that space?
So, with becoming homeless, of course, it was, when I turned 17. So, my son's father and I, we had moved out together. I had moved in with him. And I think during that time, I started to really go through a journey of rediscovering who I was, because at this time now I'm getting older. My son's father and I, he was my boyfriend at the time. And so he was a little bit older than I was. And so, moved out at 17, was on my own. But then, of course, things happen, right? And so it's like, okay, now that we're not together, I don't have a car, right? At the time, I didn't have a car. I don't have anywhere to go. What am I going to do? I didn't want to call my grandmother because I didn't want to like stress her out with that. I knew she didn't have enough room at the house. And so it was just like, okay, what do I do? And so, jumping from couch to couch. So calling friends at the time, me and DJ come and sleep on your couch? Asking family to my child. A lot of times I kept it concealed because I was embarrassed about it. Some of my closest friends, they knew what was going on. They would let me come and sleep, in their homes. Their parents would let me come and sleep in their homes. And so I think, it was up until about 4 years ago, almost 5, that I was able to really become stable, because it was like I would get my own place and then something would happen, or it was like I just wasn't prepared. And so it's like, okay, God, like, is this what life is going to look like? Because I'm like, I know that there's so much more out there for me. I know that you did not create me to struggle. It was hard finding jobs. I would work temp job from temp job. Once that was over with, I would struggle to try to find another job. And so it was just so many different challenges that I faced. And I believe that with my organization, that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about giving back to the homeless, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be on the other end of that, not knowing where your next meal is going to come from. I may get a little emotional. You get what I'm saying? It's not anything as far as like sad tears, but I'm thankful. I'm grateful because I don't look like what I've been through. Of course, we don't struggle anymore. We've been in our own place. I'm actually a full-time entrepreneur. I was able to quit my job in the middle of the pandemic last year. So talk about stepping out on faith. But just, being homeless really humbled me. It really humbled me. And I think being homeless also taught me how to get it out of the mud and really show me what I was capable of, because I had to fight my way out of that. I had to fight my way out of homelessness into stability, because I told myself, once I got back on my own 2 feet, I said, you know what, God, I will never know struggle again. I cannot. I absolutely cannot. And so I have not. And I'm just so grateful. And that's why I believe that I am blessed the way that I am, because I am a genuine giver. And, I love that my organization and the women who are even tuned in, who are commenting right now. I see Ariel, I see Drina. It may be a couple more people, but they get out there with me every single month, and we're feeding the homeless. We do clothing drives. We're clothing them. We're praying with them, because I'm a firm believer that your current situation does not determine your final destination.
Yes, absolutely. Your current situation does not determine your final destination. And I got to ask you one more question before we cut to our next segment. And then we're going to start to talk about this nonprofit that you have. Yes. So, you were going through the mud, going through the struggle. At what point did you say to yourself, I will not be a victim to my circumstances, but instead I will be a victor over my obstacles. What did that process look like for you? Because unfortunately, there are a lot of people out in this world that want to play victim. And something I always say is that as long as you're in victim mode, you give up your power for change. And so you have to make the intentional choice to move from victim to victor. And so what did that moment look like for you?
So what comes to mind and what I will never forget, because like I said, my son will be 10 years old this year. So at the time he was 5. And I will never forget, I was laying on one of the girls who I was friends with at the time. We were laying on her couch. And, at this time I'm looking for apartments. I'm praying, I'm crying. I had actually just gotten out of an abusive relationship. And so I was like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? But I kept trying, but of course you feel defeated. Sometimes when you feel defeat, we can allow that to overcome us. And I think I went through phases of, I felt like maybe I'm just not capable. Maybe I'm just not ever going to be a success story. My son looked at me one night. And I, of course, as parents, we try to conceal those tears. We try to make it seem like we got everything together. So it was late in the middle of the night. And my son woke up and he looked at me and he said, Mommy, I love you, but when will I be able to sleep in my own bed again? And when I tell you, Lindsey, that broke me. Because I was like, okay, so my baby is at the age now where he understands what's going on. And I would say that was my turning point of saying, you know what, I got to do better because he deserves better. He didn't ask to be here. I was the one that decided to keep my child. And so I really had to tap back into teenage destiny that said, okay, I'm going to do this because I know I can, going back to why I kept my child. And so that is honestly what has kept me going. Being able to see my son go from sleeping on the floor, sleeping on somebody's couch to, having his own bed, to having his own TV, to, us going from not having a lick of furniture, because at one point in time I was only able to afford an apartment. I was like, hey, this is as good as it gets. We were sleeping on the floor and everything else, living off of food stamps, everything. And now just, every day being able to go into my home and it's fully furnished the way that I want it to be and to see my baby comfortable. That's something that's always going to keep me going. And that is what, allowed me to go from playing victim to becoming victorious.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And over here in the comments, Miss Ariel says, you are the leader, girl. Your character and faith is reflected all throughout TEDDC. My number one inspiration. Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
Sweet. If you're just tuning in, you are watching the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner and my special guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie. Make sure you comment, love, and share this video out because if it is blessing you, then it'll definitely bless someone else. So with that said, we are going to get into our next segment where we find out exactly
what's in your cup.
Yes. If you are new to the show, this is the part of the show where we find out exactly what's in your cup. So make sure you comment down below what you're sipping on. And if you don't have a drink, then comment what you wish you were sipping on and that you're going to fix yourself after the show, okay? But first, our guest is going to share what she's drinking and then give us some cup cam first. Okay, let us know what's in your cup.
Blinged out my EmpowHER fuel is what it's called.
Yes.
So let me put it into if you can see it, but it's got like all these little decor. So I have just I became an adult recently, right? And I started drinking wine. So what's in my cup is the Stella Rosa peach flavored wine, which I might add is the bomb.
Stella Rosa peach flavored wine. And at first I thought you had a Starbucks cup, but then I saw the EmpowHER right over the top.
Yeah, so it is a Starbucks cup, but it's a personalized Starbucks cup. So sometimes you might get wine in this cup or you might get Starbucks in this cup.
Hashtag no judgment zone. And I'm
listen.
That's how we do at the Happy Hour Show. We keep it real because we know that we are all in this together. And sometimes, you need a little extra kick, a little extra party in your cup. And so I'm so glad that you had wine because I was feeling some type of way. We're talking faith, we're talking God. And then here I am over here with my apple strawberry hard cider. So this is what I'm drinking on today.
Yes.
You turned water to wine. So
Listen, yes, he did.
and it's not that we shouldn't drink it, it's that we shouldn't allow it to make us all crazy, okay, and idolize the drink, right? Over here in the comments, Miss Ladrina says, come on, Cup Cam. Yes, let us know what you're drinking, Miss Ladrina. She says, empower fuel. Get it? Empower her fuel. Empower.
Yes, so it's empower. It's a play on words. It's a play on words.
Yes. And I'm always trying to emphasize the her, and I feel like I mess up the whole word whenever I try to emphasize the her rather than just saying empower.
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, let us know what you're doing. She says, you look cute. Thank you, girl. Thank you. I'm sure you do over as well, wherever you are tuning in from. So let us know what you're sipping on in your cup. And meanwhile, we are going to continue this amazing discussion. So getting back to it, you have talked about being a teen mom at the age of 16 and then, leaving that toxic relationship, that toxic abusive relationship and being homeless and, bouncing from couch to couch to making that switch and the choice to be a victor over your obstacles. And now you have your own home, you have your business, you are full-time in your business. So Congratulations again. So tell us a little bit about what that is. I know you started to mention it a little bit earlier about feeding the homeless and giving back, but tell us a little bit more about the EmpowHER company.
Yes. So our organization is called the EmpowHERment Daily Devotional Corporation. It is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are actually stepping into our third year. I founded the organization on September 26, 2018. Hey, girl, hey. And so we actually, like I said, the basis is sisterhood. So being able to allow like-minded women to come together. And, I think one of the things that helped me to come up with the organization, of course, it was, a vision from God. He gave it to me when I was 21 years old, but I didn't fully walk into it until I was 24 years of age. So I'll actually be 27 this year in a couple months. And, of course, at that time, I felt inadequate because I was like, you know what, God, I don't like women. I don't have good relationships with women. How is this going to work? I would go to events and I would see that a lot of stuff was geared towards just, women in business or women who wanted to have their own business. And I got to thinking, what about the stay-at-home mom? What about the woman who doesn't want to, have their own business? What if they just want to climb the corporate ladder and they enjoy their 9 to 5? What about the woman who is, just going through things and wants to be around other women? So it was all those things that I was taking into consideration. And I wanted to create a safe haven that allowed powerful women, like-minded women, women of all sorts to come together where, one, they're not being judged because, of course, the stigma that society has placed on us is that women can't come together. Women can't support one another. Women are competitive. Women are malicious, So it was like, what can we do to go against that? And so creating a sisterhood, but also teaching them and exposing them to the needs of the community. I am a firm believer that, one way that you can fully embody becoming the woman that you have been called to be is also being selfless, and doing the work of God and getting out there and really seeing what life is like, because it can always get worse, so really humbling them and really allowing it to just be a journey. So I've had the pleasure of seeing quite a few ladies come through my organization, and some of them have stayed with me, some of them have left, but seeing their growth has been immaculate. Being able to witness them coming in, maybe shy, don't know how to talk in front of other people, maybe they do want to run a business, but they were scared at first. A lot of times they come in and these things that they were once afraid of or, maybe weren't adequate in doing at the time, they have all blossomed so beautifully. And so it has been such an honor to lead such an amazing organization, to the point where I was like, you know what? Let's do something with kids, right? So now, just last September, we created a youth sisterhood. So now we have an adult sisterhood group, we have a youth sisterhood group, and we partner with different organizations around the city. So such as like the Boys and Girls Club of America, we have gone in and mentored their students. Chapel Hill 7th to 8th grade center, which is in Wayne Township, right next door to Ben Davis High School. We mentor their girls every Friday from 3 to 4. It's been such a pleasure. And really just helping these kids to discover the tools within them that make them so powerful, and also helping women to do the same. Because I think so many times we look outside of ourselves for the very thing that God has already placed within us. And so I think just helping women, discover or rediscover their true power. So that's really what the EmpowHERment Daily Devotional Corporation is about, teaching women that their everyday lives is a daily devotion to how, we should operate.
I love that. I love that. Over here in the comments, Miss Madonna says, girl, I feel you on the women relationship thing.
Yes.
It's so true, because we actually met for the Unleashed Woman Conference. And our whole motto is that, we help you to unleash the extraordinary woman within, and we can go so much farther together than we can divided. And I think if more women realize that, we are just alike. We are literally our sister's keeper. The thing that you're struggling with is the thing that your sister across the street is struggling with. But rather than coming together, we suffer in silence because society makes us feel not good enough or unworthy. And we feel like everything is peachy keen with everybody else. But if we would just take a moment to be vulnerable enough and just to support our sister and talk to our sister across the street, around the corner, across the country, wherever, we will realize that we are so much more alike. Yes, Madonna says, Destiney, that is amazing. It absolutely is. And she did a phenomenal job whenever she was a speaker for the Unleashed Woman Conference. And that's what that conference was all about. And so you were just a perfect fit. And it was just awesome, awesome. So I know that you mentioned about your business, and sometimes you have the ladies that want to go into business, but I know that even whether it's a business goal or a personal goal, sometimes that fear can be crippling, but you have overcome fear at many different levels in your life. So tell us what that process looked like. How did you manage to overcome fear in your life?
So, like you said, I've been able to overcome fear and a lot of different obstacles. And I think the first thing that I have really just started to discover is, where are your intentions? You know what I mean? Being intentional about what it is that you want, being consistent, but then also, making sure that you just keep going no matter what, persevere. Because the thing about it is, and I believe I say this all the time, but I said it at the conference, fear is inevitable. You get what I'm saying? It's going to happen. But what you do with that fear, do you allow it to cripple you, or do you allow it to keep you pushing, or do you thrive off of it? I discovered that I was one of those people that I thrive under pressure. And even though I may be fearful, I still kind of like push myself to say, you know what, Destiney, you can do this. For every negative thought that I had about why I couldn't do this or why it wasn't going to work, I found something positive to negate that. So, going against that, okay, so I can't do this because of this, but what if I did it this way? I could, just going back and forth with myself. Also making sure that you tune people out and you tune out the noise around you, because a lot of times people can inflict their own insecurities and fear onto you. And so then, of course, now you're like, oh my goodness, this really ain't gonna work because I don't have anybody supporting me, or they're telling me this or they're telling me that. So really being confident in yourself. And how can you be confident in yourself to overcome fear? Getting to know yourself, spending time with yourself, going against everything that the world is saying that you can't do. Because as women, we are so powerful. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about what it is that I do, because I've been there. I became functional in my dysfunction. You know what I mean? At one point in time, I did allow fear to hold me back. But at some point in time, I had to make the decision of, I want better. And I'm not going to wait on anybody to bring it to me. I tell people all the time, I'm not waiting for a seat at the table. I'll create my own opportunities. And if I have to, I'll pull up a folding chair. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to get to a point where you just are so confident within that you have to push past it, because if you don't, you have to understand that the things that God has placed within you are not for you. There are like tons of people that are waiting on what you have. And so if you're just sitting on it, there are so many people that are going to remain bound just because you didn't give God your yes, and because you didn't push past fear.
Absolutely, absolutely. If you are just tuning in, you are watching the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner and my very beautiful guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie, CEO of all things Destiney and Destiney Speaks. She has been dropping some gems. We've been talking about faith, homelessness, teen pregnancy, and all kinds of things. She just wrapped up about overcoming fear, and that is a big one. And it's so crazy that you brought that up, because currently, I am running a 100-day devotional on the new app called Clubhouse, and we were actually just talking about that. And the thing that we have to realize is that our minds and our thoughts are so powerful. And so you had to make that mental and intentional decision to say, no, I'm not going to let fear win. And here's the thing, we've been talking about faith, so we're going to talk about it some more, is that fear is of Satan and the devil. And for those of you that aren't spiritual, you can still tune in. Don't worry. Share this on your timeline for your spiritual friends. Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. But Satan is the one that controls the fear and the doubt. And anything of God, he wants us to have blessings and abundance and happiness and joy, and anything outside of that is of Satan. And so the devotional, we're talking about how Satan's main attack is to play on our minds and our thoughts, because that is our most powerful tool in creating our life. And he knows that as long as we're fearful, as long as we're doubtful, as long as we're feeling unworthy and feeling not good enough, then we are not going to walk in our purpose. And when we walk in our purpose, we make an impact for God's kingdom. And so that's why it's important for Satan to knock us where it hurts in our brains and give us these thoughts. So I'm absolutely glad that you brought up that you had to make the decision to just kick fear in the butt and say, no, you're not going to win on today.
No.
And so in talking about that, how would you say that you began to identify your purpose? Because you said you got over the fear and you were like, you know what? How can I look at this a different way so that I can keep pushing? So how did you begin to identify your purpose?
So I believe that I started to identify my purpose once I became obedient. So, going back to God saying, okay, Destiney, I need you to cultivate and create a women's empowerment group. And, at the time I was like, okay, God, you keep on harassing me with this. I mean, I was having dreams to the point where it will wake me up in the middle of the night. And I'm just like, oh my God, because one thing I've learned about God is, ready or not, here he comes. Okay. He is going to get it out of you one way or another. And finally, it was just me being like, okay, God, I'm just going to do it, right? I'm just being obedient. I gave God my yes. So when I first started the organization and I first started, coaching the women and things like that, I wasn't operating out of a place of passion or purpose. I was operating out of just being obedient. But the more I continued to just kind of like let myself go and in essence die to myself, you know what I mean? And really get uncomfortable, because I think I started learning that my blessings come when I'm in unfamiliar territory. It was when God had to kind of take everything that I knew, because I was elevating, I was going to a different level, which means that I had to take on a new form, and so I started losing friends and I started losing people around me. And I was just like, okay, God, is this some sort of punishment? Like, because you could have kept this, and the more I just was like, I'm just going to be obedient. I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep going. The more I kept seeking God, the more I kept just persevering, is when I started to see like, oh my goodness, I am so passionate about this. The moment I started waking up and thinking, you know what, I could do this forever without getting paid because I love it so much. And just being able to see the fruits of my labor and witnessing, like I said, just these women evolving and transforming was just so beautiful, and it still is. And I think once the moment I started to become fearful, right? Oh my goodness, I want to keep this forever. I don't want it to end. That's when I realized, okay, this is purpose and this is passion. And then also just, when God tells you something, there's always evidence that follows behind it. And so once I seen that this was working, I was like, okay, God, this is the real deal. Like, okay. And now here we are into our 3rd year, and it's a true blessing.
Absolutely. And congratulations to you again. I can't say that enough. Over here in the
Thank you.
comments, Medina says, I love that. You made a decision to be obedient. And that
Yes.
is so true. You mentioned, like there's clues usually. And to add on to that, not only are there clues, but oftentimes the very thing that we are running from is the exact path towards walking in our purpose. So for any viewers or listeners out there right now, ask yourself, what am I running from? What am I avoiding? Because that's likely where you're going to find a piece of your purpose and that impact that you're supposed to make. And so you're like, I don't want to do this.
Right. Girl, when I tell you, I was like, God, you got the wrong girl. Okay. This ain't going to work. Like, and it really, to go deeper, it was because, like I mentioned at the beginning, I didn't have good relationships with women. And so I learned that sometimes the very things that cause us pain are typically what we've been called to do. It's a part of our purpose. And so because I struggled with, relationships with women, relationships with my mom, discovering that, oh my God, this is what I've been called to do. Why? But it showed me like the true beauty of just so much. And, I would say to anybody listening, typically the thing that causes you the most pain, like you said, the thing that you don't want to deal with because you're like, no, I don't have the patience for it. It's typically, the very thing that you're an expert in and the very thing that God is going to take you for. Because if he can say, hey, I had you at this point, but now I brought you here, and people can see that, it's a true testament in itself.
Absolutely. And over here in the comments, Ladrina says, true blessing to have you as a leader. Yes. Brandy says, true. And Madonna says, that's fact on finding your purpose. Continue to comment, love, share this video out. Post your questions for Miss Destiney below. She will be able to answer those in just one moment. So make sure you get them in right now. If you're just tuning in, you're watching the Happy Hour Show with Lindsey Vertner and my special guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie, CEO of all things Destiney and Destiney Speaks. And she has her EmpowHERment Daily Devotion program. And she's just been amazing, dropping all the gems. And so I want to ask you, you have something called a self-love journal. And so for the listeners and the viewers out there that are struggling with feelings of unworthiness or not feeling good enough, what are some tips that you would give them to increase their self-love?
Yeah. So first tip I would give is shift your mindset. It always starts up here. If you can shift your mindset, then everything else flows. And I think too, just being able to consistently tell yourself that the same love that you give to other people, you deserve that. So I'm really big on positive self-talk because we're always saying, I can't do this. You get what I'm saying? Or we're always saying, I'm not good enough. I'm not enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not this. I'm not that. But what if you turn that around and said, I am this, I am that. And just the more you speak that out into the universe, that's what's going to come back to you. And so it takes practice. Like I always say, just like when you go to the gym, right? Your goal is to lose weight. You're not going to step on to the scale and see a change the very first day, right? That takes consistency, that takes effort, that takes practice. And so with my self-love journal, I wanted to curate something that was really going to be practical tips for them to use today. And so it talks about mindset. It talks about practicing self-love. It talks about what does self-love look like? Self-love can be an array of things. And it's not just like candles, taking showers, and having alone time. You know what I mean? Love is a journey, and it's not always a beautiful one. Sometimes it can be a gruesome one, but you have to start really learning who you are, because that's the only way you're going to be able to step into your purpose. That's the only way you're going to be able to be successful. You have to know who you are, but you ultimately need to know whose you are, and you need to operate as such.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Knowing whose you are, which is God's daughter, God's son, he wants abundance and happiness for us. So sometimes when we forget who we are, then it's easier to believe those lies that Satan feeds into our brain of not feeling good enough, not being worthy, and all of those things like that. So I'm absolutely glad that you said that. And affirmations are such a great thing. So kudos for sharing that with your audience, because we have to speak in the I am present tense, and we have to be mindful that our words and our thoughts are very powerful. You know, it's spiritual. The Bible says the power of the tongue speaks life or death. So positive or negative, you're speaking it. But then it's also in science, in research. There's whole books about, you know, the power of our thoughts. I'm a living testimony to that, because mastering my mindset was a crucial component of my recovery from being brain dead and paralyzed in 2007. And so we have to speak in the present tense, in the now, and say, I am confident, I am worthy. And you might not feel like that right now, but like Destiney said, the more you practice, then the more easy it starts to become, and the easier it is for you to begin to believe it. Then soon enough, you'll be like, you know what? I am confident, and you'll start to walk that way and behave that way. And so absolutely, absolutely. Over here, I think that this would be a perfect time to get to some of these questions that we have. And so we have a little game called
30-second hot shot. Answer the question in 30 seconds or less, or take your shot.
Yes, if you are new to the show, it is time for 30-second hot shot, where you have 30 seconds to answer the question, or you got to take a shot of your peach wine over there. So let me get my timer up here. Timer. Put it on 30 seconds. So how this will work, I will read the question, and then you'll have 30 seconds to answer, okay? And if you miss the buzzer, then it's shot. So let's see what you got. The very first question says, how do you practice self-care? Go.
Okay. How I practice self-care is journaling, really just getting alone time with myself, and kind of just processing different things, and of course affirmations.
Hey, and you have 15 seconds left to spare. Sweet. So let's get to the next question. Let's start this one over. So this next question says, what advice would you give to mothers that feel like they don't have the support to go after their goals because they are a mother? Go.
Oh, the advice that I would give to a mother who feels like they don't have the support, I would say keep going no matter what. Use your kids as your motivation, because at the end of the day, you have to be your number one fan. If nobody else is, you have to know when to cheer for yourself. So do not allow the lack of support from others to get you down or make you feel defeated. Just keep going and be your number one fan, and allow your baby to be your motivation.
Hey, girl, you are getting it. You had 2 seconds left to spare. Awesome. And that is so true, because something I always say is that sometimes people can only support you for as high as they've taken themselves, and that's not always that high. And so you have to be willing to step outside of your comfort zone and find those people out there that will support you and uplift you. Because if you stay stuck inside of that negative circle with negative people, it's only a matter of time before you find yourself depressed and suicidal and Lord knows what, right? So thank you for sharing.
And you can't expect people to support you. You can't expect people to support you or be happy for you if they're not doing that for themselves. So I never take it personal. I used to, but I never take it personal, because I don't know what you got going on in your alone time, your personal time. You probably want to support me, but can't because you don't know how. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah. That's the same with love too. Sometimes people don't know how to love you because they don't know how to effectively and positively love you. They are loving you the way that they learned from past generations, passed down. But at some point, Like we've been saying all along, we have to make the choice to stop being a victim and be a victor and to break the cycles. So, this last question says, you mentioned that you had a horrible attitude before. So, what changed in you and how did you go about switching your horrible attitude into a positive attitude? Go.
Let me tell you, dealing with different women and their personalities will really get you going. And so I had to look at it from a standpoint of, now I'm a leader. I have to be careful of what flows from my mouth. And if I claim to be this Proverbs 31 woman, one of the first things is making sure that nothing but good things flow out of my mouth. Understanding how powerful my words are, and also understanding how powerful my attitude is. And so changing that and practicing that is what helped me become more positive.
Oh, I'm gonna let you slide on that one. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Thanks for playing our 30-second hot shot game. And there is another question that I have to ask you, except this question, you can take all the time in the world that you need for it because it's a very important question. So I always talking about living a first-class life. And what that means is that you are intentional about the quality of life you create for yourself. You are intentional about creating happiness in every moment that you can. You are intentional about shedding away the mask of fear and doubt and the mask that we put on to live up to other people's expectations of who we should be. You instead walk boldly and unapologetically in who you are, flaws and all. And so I have to ask you, Miss Destiney, how do you intentionally create happiness in your life?
How do I intentionally create happiness in my life? One, I had to understand that the joy, the love, the happiness, the confidence, all of that is what I had within. And so really being able to pull that out of me by, one, seeking God, because I think you're always going to go through times where you're going to be attacked, where the enemy is going to tell you different things. And so for me personally, I've now became mindful of the tactics that the enemy does. And of course, with much practice, I don't entertain them because I don't have time. You know what I mean? I know what the voice of Satan sounds like. I know what the voice of God's like. And so, once I start getting attacked, I immediately begin to pray. I immediately begin to say, you know what, devil, not today. So when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling less than, when I may be having an anxiety attack coming on, the first thing I start to do is I start to speak life over myself because, like you said, there's so much power in the tongue. And I don't think we realize that. I'm gonna say this. When I realized that it was power in the tongue, y'all, I must have called into work one day when I was working, lied, okay, told them that my tire went flat and I couldn't make it into work, right? Y'all, when I get on the highway, what happened? The tire went flat.
I knew you had to say it.
Tire went flat, Lindsey. I said, oh my God, no. And I told her real quick. I said, oh, God is funny. So I was like, you know what? If I could lie, tell my job that my tire was going to go flat when my tire was perfectly fine up until I opened up my mouth and said that, and then it went flat. Imagine what I could do if I started speaking things that I wanted to come to, into fruition. And so I think, just speaking, manifesting, and praying, and just that's how I am able to bring my happiness from within, because I know that I'm in control of that. I don't look for it in my child. I don't look for it in my fiance. I don't look at it from my career. I'm looking at God because I know that that's my source. But I also know that the same power that, God put in Jesus when he was able to raise the dead is the same power that I have. So when I'm having my dead moments, I know that I have that power to recreate life in abundance. And I have to always just keep telling myself, like, you are in control, Destiney. Nobody else is in control of your happiness. No one else is in control of, what it is that you want to do. Only you are. And so I tell myself all the time, God, I want to create a life that I don't ever want to vacation from. I manifested and prayed for over a year for over a year to be free from my job, to be able to do what I love. But it took perseverance. It took the work. It took me saying, this is going to happen because I know it's going to happen because I want it to happen. God said so, so I know it is so. And so just being confident and putting that out there. And now here I am 6 months into, full-time entrepreneurship, and we have not lacked a thing. Okay. God is
Okay.
good. It is abundance. And so I would say I'm making more money now than when I was, stuck to a 9-to-5 job. But it took me doing the work. It took me seeking God, and it took me persevering throughout all of the hardships, because don't get it twisted. Entrepreneurship is not easy. And you do have to be self-motivated, and you do have to find, that strength, because when you have those days where you're not bringing in any money, or you have those days where you feel less than, you have to be able to say, you know what, I can do it. So my first few months of entrepreneurship, I was depressed. I'm like, hold on, why am I depressed? And this is what I wanted. Because I was lonely, right? I was used to being around other coworkers. Now I'm by myself in front of my computer, and I'm trying to help other women, and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And God said, you know what? You are capable, because if you weren't capable, I wouldn't have put you in this position. And so just being confident, you got to know what God's word says, because whenever the devil tells you you aren't something, you have to be able to come back and say, well, God says I'm this. Because if God ain't never let you down before, he's not going to ever let you down. And if the word says that he'll never leave nor forsake us, you got to break that thing down. What does never leave? What does never forsake mean? Because what you understand that, that's when you'll know that he didn't bring you this far to leave me. And so I find my true happiness in just being able to speak life into myself, and also being happy about where I am, because I think so many times we want to be a lot further than where we are. And I think that's what brings in the depression, and that's what brings in the fear and the anxiety, because we think we should be so much further. And I had to learn I'm right where I need to be when I'm supposed to be there. And I just need to be thankful for all of the blessings that God has given me. And I need to indulge in that. And I need to be appreciative of that before I start asking for something else. So
Yes, yes, yes. All of that, all of that. And if you missed any of that, make sure you go back and watch the replay. I definitely want to just thank you for being a guest on the show. Over here in the comments, yes, Brandy says it's hard, but with hard work, it all pays off. And Ariel says, that's the word. Ain't it though?
yes.
Exactly that. And being intentional about that happiness is what it's all about. I can think of one time where somebody had started to argue, but I had already made up in my mind that I was going to have a great day. And so when this person came with their negative attitude and their argument, I was just like, you done? And they weren't done. They wanted me to back, but we can't control our surroundings. We can't control how other people behave. We can only control our behaviors and how we react. And so I'm just listening. It didn't faze me or anything. And I was just like, oh, well, I'm going to go do this now. You're welcome to join me, not with that attitude, but I'm going to have a great day. So you can be mad by yourself, because I'm going to go and I'm going to have a great day. And it's sometimes just as simple as that, is making that intentional decision to say, I'm going to have a good day today. I'm going to be happy. And then it's easier to recognize those moments of attack, those moments that are going to bring down our energy or bring down our mood, and then counteract them with something else. So I absolutely love that you brought that up. Ladrina says, beautiful message. And this has been an awesome time. I can't believe we're already at an hour. Earlier, you talked about the self-love. And so I know that you have a special treat for the guests. So go ahead and tell them about it some more in case they missed it.
Yes. So guys, I do have a Becoming Your Best Self-Love journal, which you can find it at the link that is on the screen. Feel free to download that journal. Listen, it has helped me tremendously. I pretty much just put the tips in this journal of what I have done myself to get to a point of where I'm able to love myself, where I'm able to care for myself, and truly just allow me to become the best version that I know that God called me to be. So I believe it's going to bless your life. It is free. If you go to that link, it'll take you directly to it, which is the www.cut.ly/self-love journal. Download it today, guys, and make sure that you hit me up on social media. Let me know how it's working for you. I've gotten so many great reviews, and I know it's going to bless you if you decide to download.
Absolutely. You heard it. You see there? I love my guests because they're always giving y'all goodies. So whether you're watching or listening,
Yes.
go to cut.ly/self-love journal so that you can download your free complimentary self-love journal. And that's CUTT.ly/self-love journal, all lowercase. Make sure you go get yours today. Make sure you follow my phenomenal guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie, at DestinySpeaks.com. And her Instagram is Destiney Speaks _0x. Nope, OX, like kisses and hugs, right? OX. Listen, y'all don't listen to me. Take a screenshot of the screen. So do you have any final words to share with our guest?
I am so grateful that you guys decided to spend time with me today and to just hear what it is that I had to say, hear my heart, hear my story. I pray that the things that I said resonated with you all and that you just go out there, you conquer the world, because what you have within you, the world needs it. So do not allow fear to overtake you any longer. Keep going, sis, no matter what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, listen, I want to thank my guest, Miss Destiney Gillespie, again. And make sure you at home go back and watch the replay, listen to the replay, share this with your friends, and make sure you stay updated on future episodes of the Happy Hour Show by visiting bit.ly/happy updates. You see it scrolling across the bottom. That's bit.ly/happy updates. We are here every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern and some Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. So make sure you sign up for updates so that you can stay updated on future episodes. And sometimes my guests give a happy hour exclusive special, but you got to be on the VIP list to get it. So with that said, I will see you next Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern. And I wish you a very, very blessed and abundant rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.